Alright, I just want to make a video about some random things here. Some things that are, I guess, recent news as well. But I've made videos in the past where I talk about things in my day that just the numbers just seem to follow me and whatever. I was actually just going to go to bed here, but then I figured I might as well make a video here. For some reason, I noticed that my subscribers has been stuck on 395 for, I don't even know, a week, probably at least 2 weeks now. And I'll get an email and say I have a new subscriber, and it never changes. It always stays at 395. So for whatever the weird reason, it sparked my brain, and I just figured I'd look up 395. So anyway, I just put it in gematria here, 395. Figured I'd see what it was. It ends up being 124. Just really interests me because I've been seeing this number a whole lot lately. And I didn't write a lot of them down because they didn't seem that important. I mean, there was a few of them that I wrote down, but I've actually seen this number a lot more times than I have documented. And I'll show you a few of them here. One of them was Tashfeen Malik, the woman in the San Bernardino shooting. So interesting, her name went out to 124. I went from the date of the San Bernardino shooting, 12/2, kind of like 122, a number that we've talked about being associated with the 239th year of the United States that we are currently in. And I went to 124 because that's the number that I was looking for or whatever. I've been seeing, I guess, 124. And it's a span of 53 days, but also 1 month, 22 days. Interesting, the word 53 adds up to 122 as well, and also 59 the small way. Also, 53 adds up to the exact same thing as Pope Francis, 59 and 122. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've talked about Pope Francis. Interesting too, I've made lots of videos on Queen Elizabeth, and she's actually born on 4/21, the mirror of 124. Just kind of stuck out to me. It's also the 111th day of the year. Normally, next year it will be the 112th day of the year, which just kind of sticks out to me a little bit because I've talked about the number 56 tons ever since the Paris attacks or whatever. And 56, if you double it, it adds up to 112. Another 124 is Eiffel Tower. And remember, the Eiffel Tower was actually built to be debuted at the 1889 World Fair that actually began on May 6th, kind of like 56. So anyway, these are some of the ones that I had written down. Actually, it's every one of them that I had written down. But Dylan Roof, right, the Charleston shooter, whatever, the church one, adds up to 124. Also, Allison Bailey Parker. On Facebook, her name was just Allison Bailey. Supposedly, that is her middle name now, or whatever, that's how they reported it later on. Allison Bailey Parker. So interesting, 124. This was the professor in the Delta State University shooting. This just so happens to be the punter for the Philadelphia Eagles. Adds up to 124. In the Nebraska stuff, Nebraska football, I talked a lot about how it dealt with field goals and punts, and they both add up to 71, like World War III, like Moses, the Nebraska plays in the Sea of Red, the Ten Commandments, tons of other stuff, so just interesting. I'm assuming that's why I typed that in. Also, crane collapse. We had the crane collapse this year. This is an episode of Family Guy. It came out on May 6th, 5/6. I don't know why I wrote that down, but who knows. Northern University, they beat North Carolina when North Carolina was ranked number 1 in basketball this year. It was a big deal on ESPN there for a few days. Also interesting, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's also connected to a lot of 33, which I'll mention here in a second. Me plus fish sticks equals gay fish. Like on the South Park episode where Kanye is the gay fish. I made a bunch of videos on Kanye West and the HIV and how it ties into the Paris attacks and whatnot. This guy was from a long time ago. It was right after Sandy Hook. This guy shot up his family. His dad was like the preacher or whatever. It was in New Mexico, I believe. So interesting. Java, Indonesia. I'm not sure if that had something to do with earthquake or that big tsunami. And then Iverson steps over Tyronn Lue. 40 Bars is the name of, I think it's the name of a song or the album that Allen Iverson put out when he changed, like, he tried putting out music or whatever. 40 Bars. This one interested me a lot. Bravery Gate. In this movie, Philadelphia Experiment, which just also so happens to add up to 122, like Pope Francis. But the movie's about the time travel and the boat and whatever. If you haven't seen it, check it out. There's actually like a bunch of different versions, but the older version's a little bit better, I think. But on the phone, they tell the girl that she has to remember 2 words, and that like solves the whole thing. And the 2 words are Bravery Gate, and Bravery Gate adds up to 124. But then later in the movie, they changed the words to Ivory Gate for whatever the reason, and Ivory Gate adds up to 122. So, also Albert Erling. He was the guy who founded the town Erling, Iowa, on September 23rd. I can't remember the year, but Erling, Iowa is the town that is partially based off of the book The Exorcist. And I have to drive through this town every day when I go to work. It's just, I don't know, town just creeps me out a little bit. But also The Walking Dead. No idea why I typed that in, but it's 124. Chris Farley stuck out a lot. I've talked a lot about the Herbie Hancock with Nebraska Cornhuskers. Also, it's supposed to be John Hancock, the first signer of the Declaration of Independence of the 56 people, and John Hancock even died at the age of 56. And Chris Farley also tied into the number 33. And Chris Farley, so look, he died at the age of 33, literally died on December 18th, a day that is connected to 33. December 18th adds up to 156. If you write out the word 33, it also adds up to 156. Also, if you write out the words 666, it adds up to 156. He also died in a John Hancock Center, which I just found kind of interesting. The John Hancock Center in Chicago. Also interesting, he was born on the last day of Lupercalia, February 15th. And Lupercalia in Gematria adds up to 98, just like if you write out his real name, Christopher Farley. Let's type in Lupercalia really quick for you. It's 44 and 98. Also interesting, on his unfinished projects, they talk about the film adaptation of A Confederacy of Dunces, and he wanted to be in these three different movies, and then he never finished them and he died. And 2 other people also did the same thing, John Belushi and John Candy. It even says they were all attached to all 3 roles, and all 3 died before any of the films entered production. So they say that these films or whatever have been cursed and all that, but just interesting, another 33. 3 people to 3 films, and then they all died before the films entered production. John Belushi even died at the age of 33. Interesting too, he died 33 years ago, even. So March 5th, 1982 was 33 years ago. He died at the age of 33. March 5th even adds up to 56, a number that I've just mentioned over and over lately. And I said it seems to be associated with bad things, like Paris, France, 56, ISIS, 56, Osama bin Laden, 56, Saddam Hussein, 56, Adolf Hitler, 56. Also interesting, just Farley adds up to 31, and just Belushi adds up to 31. 31, if you write it out, it adds up to 53, which I talked about in the beginning of this video, how 53 added up to 122. The other guy in that curse or whatever was John Candy. Interesting, John Candy, he dies at the age of 43 on 3/4, the mirrors. Or in other countries, they would even write it as 4/3. So he died age 43 on 4/3. Interesting, too, they're all connected to Dan Aykroyd. I'm sure they're connected to other things, too. Just Dan Aykroyd just stood out to me in movies and whatnot. And so I looked him up. And, I mean, he even has my name. Like Daniel Edward Barrett is my name. That's just kind of crazy to me. Who knows? Doesn't have to mean much, but Daniel Edward Ackroyd. And in Gematria, it adds up to 91, which is interesting for the fact that I've talked about this number being an elimination number, a death type number. I haven't seen it so much in people, but I've seen it a lot in sports. So just want to point it out, I guess. Also, in regards to the 33, the big article in sports today was Rajon Rondo got suspended or whatever, and he told one of the refs that he was a faggot. And this is the way they even spelled it, but it adds up to 56. Go figure. But the 33 references, gay adds up to 33, fags 33, AIDS 33, even kings with the S exception, where S is 10 instead of 1, it adds up to 24. This website just doesn't do it. The word 16 adds up to 33. That's interesting. There's been a lot of 16 stuff lately. The Golden State Warriors broke the longest winning streak in the beginning of the season. It was 16. You also still have the Carolina Panthers, who are undefeated, who could be 16-0. But I thought somewhere along the lines there was a 91 connected to them. I can't seem to find it right now in my notes, but I didn't think they're going to do it. But maybe there was a typo or something. Now they add up to 101, kind of like Philadelphia. Interesting, Rondo was born on 2/22, a number we've seen a whole bunch. He's also been getting a lot of triple doubles lately, right? 3 2s, kind of like a triple double. But the interesting thing down here, so he now plays for the Sacramento Kings, and they talked about him on November 27th in a game against former teammate Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett adds up to 56. He's the first teen Wolf. Wolf adds up to 56. I've made tons of videos on this stuff. But he goes back and plays against Kevin Garnett, and he became the first player since 1977-78 to have 16 points, 16 assists, and no turnovers. So just interesting that 16 adds up to 33. Interesting, when he gets ejected in this game and he says the slur or whatever, Sacramento only had 49 points. This guy also had just turned 49 years old in November. Also, they waited 11 days before they did anything about it. 11 days. It says 40 here, but with the S exception, it's also 49. Interesting, too, the ref here, he just turned 49 on the same day that I turned 33. So, just interesting, I guess. I'm totally straight. I don't know if that's some type of weird joke in their magic that they do or whatever, but interesting also, the date numerology adds up to 56, a number that I've been talking about over and over and over. So, it's weird. I'm definitely connected to it, and, I have no idea why, but somehow I'm connected to it as well. That means this guy's also 16 years older than me, and remember, 16 adds up to 33. And I'm not sure if he always wears this number, but in this article about it, they show him wearing the number 55. Remember, 56 adds up to 55. Lots of things with the number 55 dealing with retirement and death this year, or just in the last couple months even. If you go back and watch like my last 10 videos, I explain this over and over and over. I also find it funny that the Kings have Rudy Gay, right? I even remember when he went there the same year that Jason Collins came out as the first gay NBA player. And I said something on Twitter about how the Kings now have gay cousins or something. I can't remember it, but it was funny at the time. Also on SportsCenter, one of the things they brought back up in regards to this was when Donald Sterling, the owner of the Clippers, was racist and blah, blah, blah. And the Clippers are actually named after a boat, and that same boat was used in slave trading. Also interesting, David Stern then had retired as commissioner that year. Stern, the back of the boat. Then Adam Silver became the commissioner. Sterling, Silver. And then it was V. Stiviano. All these add up to 59. All of these references are about black people. Also, it was Donald Sterling's 33rd season as owner. It was over Magic Johnson, pretty much. Magic equals 33. But all these equal 59. Gay referee equals 59. But I ran out of time. I'll just leave a little note, but I think you can figure out the significance for yourself.